Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Business Idea Insight YouTube channel. So today's video is a little different. It's an hour-long consulting session I did one-on-one with an email subscriber from Business Idea Insight. We go over the in-depth details I go over with my clients on how they can find their own business ideas and the next steps to move forward with in order to validate and potentially execute on that business idea. So if you've ever wondered about some of the work I do one-on-one with people, or you're wondering some of the nitty-gritty details I ask in order to help them develop that business idea, well, you should definitely watch all this interview. So without further ado, let's jump into the call with Alan. Other than that, why don't we get started? I'll just tell you a bit what I had on the agenda for the hour here. And then I think we can start by, if you could give me a little bit of background about yourself. So after I hear a bit about you, I wanted to go into some assessments, some strengths assessments, resource, and passions assessment, just so we have a full understanding here of really like who you are, so we can think of a good business idea. And then we'll go into the business idea equation. It's an equation I like to use to help break down the business idea so we can really look at each little part. It makes it easier ultimately to brainstorm. And then we'll look at finding problems and how you can quickly validate. I got a couple of tools for you. So yeah, if you're ready,
sounds great.
I'd love to hear just a bit about you, sort of where you're at in your life, and if you're wanting to like start a side business or jump into things full time, etc.
Well, right now I work in construction, specifically shingles construction. And I'm doing that full time 7 week. And I was looking to get something going part time and slowly transition towards full time.
Cool.
As soon as the income from the side gig will be bigger than what I have right now.
Okay, cool. And so construction, is that just to sort of pay the bills, or are you really passionate about construction?
No, that's something to pay the bills, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, that's all good. And so you're in Toronto, that's correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm in over the other side in Vancouver, so that's pretty cool. So why don't we just jump into the strengths assessment here? So I just want to get to know, are you very aware of like what your strengths are and where they lie?
Well, I think I do. My side is very analytical because, yeah, I'm keen on reading. I spent a lot of time reading articles, researching, accumulating information, doing some lists and stuff. So that was one of the things I was to address, that I'm in the accumulating information phase, and it's hard to me to jump into some venture, or I have some certain it will work out, which is obviously impossible.
Right. Okay. I guess that sort of plays to your
So as far as
analytical
application,
side.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so the analytical type, lots of time reading and researching. Do you prefer like certain tasks? Like, have you looked into like the coding side, or do you prefer the more soft skills, such as things around like human resources and working with people themselves, or?
Well, I prefer some sort of combination of both, dealing with people and dealing with something on my own, so that I have some kind of autonomy, all the tasks, and I have also autonomy over the result that I'm getting, so that I don't have to report to every single activity I'm doing, so that I don't have to negotiate what the course of action is,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean, and yeah, working for someone, it can totally be like that. You always have to negotiate, and someone else is telling you where to go. Okay, and so what are your hobbies? What do you like to do in your free time?
Hobbies, I mostly do sports, like yoga, swimming, sometimes horse riding even.
Okay, so you sound like you're a very active person.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time outdoors, especially here in Toronto, weather permit. And all the forests, all the activities, skiing in the winter time when we have snow, though.
Okay, do you do any winter sports?
Yeah, skiing, skating.
Okay, awesome. So year round, pretty much.
Yes, exactly. Hiking sometimes in the winter when it's not like minus 40 or something.
Okay, cool. And so, what exactly do you like about all those outdoor things? Is it just being in the outdoors, or is it the actual activity itself, or can you break that down a bit for me?
Well, yes, I really like to be outdoors, in the open space. I like the thing is that you breathe in the fresh air, not
Okay,
the oxygenated from the air conditioning. I also
right.
like to be constantly in the moving. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like some sports, I'm not very, very proficient in, but I still enjoy doing them, so that I'm not sitting on the chair or sitting on the sofa in front of the TV. So I keep constantly moving.
Right.
Another thing you asked me came up to me right now. We have a few spas here in close to Toronto. I like also to combine all those activities around those spas. So that, say for example, first half of the day you spend in time some rigorous activities, some I don't know, maybe 30 kilometers of skiing, and then going to spas or outdoor sauna.
Oh, okay.
Not to plug anything, but we have Scandinavian spas. I'm not sure. Do you have those in Vancouver?
We do. They're so nice.
Yes, exactly. Especially after the days, like you're sweating all that stress away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. So a lot of activity and then a lot of sort of relaxation after to make sure you can rejuvenate and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's really great to know. And outside of your hobbies and stuff, for previous work outside of construction, has there been any past work you've done that you've noticed you've really enjoyed or anything along those lines?
Well, I was doing some IT related work. I didn't enjoy it that much. I enjoyed the
Hmm.
autonomy side of it. I was working in the help desk, say, for example. When you're working with dealing with IT problems, you are responsible because you're a single point uh, of responsibility.
Yep.
So you have to be on your own feet. You have to come up with your own solutions. But what I didn't enjoy is the like in the outdoor component of it, and sitting in front of the computer basically doing nothing as far as the body is concerned. Your mind is working,
Right.
but your body is not doing anything. Yeah, so, and as they say, sitting is new smoking,
Yeah.
and that was very true in my case.
Okay, good to know. And it's good to know. I liked how you touched on what you didn't like IT work because that really will help us narrow down where we should go. Was there any other work you've done in the past that you haven't really liked?
And really like, no, cannot think of anything,
Okay, but I
to
can
be
I can get a
honest.
good sense now that you like not a desk job per se for all day, maybe a couple hours, but you really like to be outdoors, passionate about doing stuff outdoors and the sports and relaxation after and rejuvenation.
Yes, exactly. So one of the ideas, to give you a gist, I have, since this I have this analytical side, I write things down, and I write also business ideas in mind. So one of the
Awesome.
business ideas I was thinking of, since I like outdoors and spa, but I didn't validate it or I didn't go any further than just the idea side,
Mhm.
is just to create some kind of turnkey experience, meaning that there's going to be a group of people, and I will just organize a 1 or 2 or 3 day like getaway experience. So first day is going to be like some rough, so-called rough sports event, or I don't know, some sports event, some sport activity, I don't know, skiing, whatever it is, hiking maybe a lot, and then going to spa, and then going to some kind of a hotel.
Okay, that's really
And that
interesting.
just
Yeah.
be yeah, basically what on a larger scale, like a bird's eye view, would be just to organize and negotiate some kind of a deal with multiple vendors, like the
Right.
hotel, the spa, the facilities that accommodate any given sport activity, so that there's interest for the people to purchase it, not like separately, but purchase it in like a combination of services or a package.
Yeah, like
I
a
don't know,
package,
maybe
yeah.
give. Yes, exactly. And then so basically, people don't have to think about any organizational side. Everything is covered. Everything is thought through. There are no problems, no nothing. So basically, people will just be taken care from the moment they leave Toronto, the bus, or I don't know, maybe mini truck, or it depends on how many people there are. And then 3 days after, there's going to be a result. They're going to be refreshed. They're going to be very well rested. Their mind will be very sharp because of that activity. Basically, extract them from that city routine.
Okay, cool. So I
That
also
was one of the ideas.
no, that's a really good idea, and I can really see it playing to your strengths here. So we should actually get into possibly doing a bit of validation of that later. What do you think about that?
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
fair
just while
enough.
we're on the topic too, was there any other potential business ideas that you saw were a really good fit for yourself?
One of the business ideas I was thinking is to open marketing consulting company
Okay. Do you have a passion for
and
marketing?
to consult. Yes.
Cool. What kind of marketing?
Just overall, not any specific, like Facebook or SEO,
Okay.
I don't know, email marketing, just overall strategizing and making this scheme, to give you the gist what Jay Abraham is doing. He's not a specialist in any particular form of marketing.
Right.
He has a lot of expertise in strategizing and creating schemes, and then he sees how any particular marketing channel fits in that particular business venture, or maybe he's able to open another profit centers in any given business venture, or maybe expand, I don't know, the paying clients, or maybe expand the back end of any particular business. That kind of consulting
Okay, yeah, that's very
I was
cool. I
thinking
totally
of.
understand what you mean. So not more so of a specialized marketing, but sort of, I could see this possibly helping small business owners who don't really have much of a marketing side, and sort of, getting their branding on point, getting their online, possibly offline marketing, and making sure they have a strategy so they can move forward with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, more kind of a generalist.
Cool,
That's
cool,
correct,
cool.
Mike.
Okay, yeah, we can get into possibly validating that one as well, and we can probably brainstorm a few here today as well. But was there any last, like a third business idea you wanted us to touch on today?
Well, I have a few also. I was thinking maybe to do some kind of. I didn't look into that much, but
No
something
problem.
on top of my mind. Yeah, I mean not overall business ideas, but in a particular idea. I think that like we have a lot of industries here in Toronto since it's a diverse city.
Yeah.
And I look like I work in shingles, and I started to make some networking connections, and I see that people are very not taking advantage of the latest technology. To give you an example of, but that there is some side of the educating clients as well. To give you an example, shingles and window cleaning industry uh, is almost dependent on creating appointments and taking care of the estimates over the phone.
Right.
People are very conservative to even to get the estimate over the specific form on the website, where there are like drop-down menus, like I don't know, the size of the house, approximately how many windows do you have, how many stores do you have in your house, do you have the basement, do you have the garage, etc., etc. I'm not even talking about like automation and bots or anything. I'm reading a book right now, marketing automation, and they are very, very keen on bots.
Right.
And I don't see that anywhere at all in this industry. So that one, like basically any service that is being taken care of, just bring to this in a way conservative industry such as construction. Like in other words, would be, I don't know, create some kind of either booking software, because the booking
Right.
software we have right now is not top notch, to say the least.
Right. Okay.
Or I don't know, create some kind of software as a service for providers, or create some platform. I don't know, some kind of that.
Okay, that's a really good insight, and thanks for letting me know. I think we can definitely build upon that later here.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, just a couple more assessments and questions I want to ask you, just so I have a more fuller picture here. So we've gone over quite a bit of this, and I'm preparing a document here. I'm just writing notes, and I'll send it to you later as well, so you can reference it too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So how much time per day or per week would you say you have for this business idea?
I would say anytime. I'm working 6 days right now, or 6 days, how many? 60 hours. I would say all free time, other than sleeping and doing the main gig right now.
Okay, that's great to hear. So you definitely have at least a couple hours a day, or a good set of hours per week to get some stuff done. That's good.
Yes, exactly.
But it sounds
And
like...
just to add up to the...
Sorry,
Yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Yes, to that experience idea, I'm just taking notes also as well, and I have the previous, like my like activities like paddleboarding, snowmobiling, that kind of stuff.
Cool. I'll make sure I note those here too.
Diverse set of activities, yeah. So what was your next question, Mike?
Yeah. So I presume your job right now is really mainly like a 9 to 5, or you're working in those main business hours.
Yes, it's actually from 6 to approximately, I would say, to 5,
Okay,
early
well,
in the morning.
yeah, good for you, long days. But one thing that question does limit is sort of the businesses you can target, because for instance, it would be hard to start a business where you only target other businesses if those businesses are only open 9 to 5 per se.
Yeah.
So yeah, just one consideration for us to keep in mind. But it doesn't limit us. That's for sure. And you don't have to let me know any specifics around your budget, but do you have like a small amount of money you can put towards a business idea, or like are you looking to put a lot, or yeah, let me know.
Well, at this stage, I'm not planning to build a gigafactory in Nevada desert. I would say up to 5 to 10K Canadian.
Oh, sorry, you just cut out there, and so I missed that.
Yeah, I'm saying up to 5 to 10K Canadian.
Okay, that's a really great budget, and I think we could do a lot less with. We can do something great with a lot less too. So you can save that for actually running your business.
Okay, yeah, we'll leave the gigafactory for further.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that thanks for that, Alan. That gives me a real good overview of sort of, who you are, what you're passionate about, the time you can commit, and sort of the money. And it's great. Like some people I talk to, they don't have any money, and so it's really hard for them to even start like an online business that only costs about like $100 to $500. So it's really great you've been setting aside some money so you can move forward with your journey. So the next piece I wanted to get into is sort of is the business idea equation. And so it's going to help us break down the business idea so we can really understand how we can launch this business ourselves. So, and the reason I go over this before we go into actually brainstorming ideas is because it will help us actually like find the pieces we need to brainstorm the idea. So it starts with the problem. So I break a business idea into 3 pieces, and it basically starts with the problem. From there, you add the value you can bring, which is your passions and strengths and your resources, which we just went over. And then with the value you can bring and the problem, you combine that with a business model. So that can be an online business model. That could be, business to business, direct sales. It could be a business to business where you're wholesaling, retailing equipment. It could be business to consumer where it's a subscription base, or for instance, with the automation for window cleaning companies, that could be like a business to business subscription based company as well. So when you combine the problem and the value you can bring in the business model, that's when you create your business idea. And tweaking each one of these pieces of the business idea equation will allow you to have different business ideas that are sort of a bit different from each other. And you can also validate each one of those differences in the market so you can see what one's going to work for you. So we can begin with the problem. Or outside of that initial problem with not enough automation in sort of the construction side of things, or the window washing and gutter cleaning area, was there any other problems you've experienced in your life or you've noticed in Toronto in general?
Well, I don't think one of the areas that can be improved, but I don't think it's like a problem. I think that the customer service experience might be enhanced, to say the least, also in construction. Because how to say it, if we take a bird's eye view of people who work in construction, the most don't have the exposure to any customer service training.
Okay.
Just getting that extra mile, maybe just negotiating just a little bit less, or maybe just going 2 steps ahead towards understanding the client. And like in my experience, what I found is people don't want those, people don't buy the screwdrivers, they buy holes. Just exactly, I think the same way can be extrapolated to that. People don't buy clean windows, they don't buy clean gutters, they don't buy, a clean roof. I think they are buying the experience of something that is important to them, either being understood or being significant or being building this mini relationship with person who is doing the work, so that you're not like a faceless robot or faceless cog that is performing and executing the task. Some people want to be heard, some people want to maybe some kind of put some contribution towards the task that you are doing. And I think that that's the gap that can be also at least shortened. I've read the good book by founder of Nordstrom shop.
Oh, yeah.
Nordstrom.
Yep.
Yeah, and he has written a very good book on customer service skills. And there are also a few, I'm going to find them. The Complaint is a Gift, I don't remember by who, and there is another one by John T. I'm going to also write it down later on. I don't want to misquote. But they are bringing that customer service also to a science. There are like, I don't know, maybe 300 questions how customer experience can be differentiated and elevated, because in the end of the day, shingles for not initiated people who don't have the domain expertise and just the knowledge to their any particular industry.
Right.
Shingles are shingles, and gutter clean is gutter clean, but all other things being equal, or window washing is window washing, or construction is construction, or construction manager is the same. But at the end of the day, all other things being equal, somebody just like a regular consumer will choose you over anybody else if they have the bond or that relationship, and that relationship can be built by extensional customer service and really customers that you're willing to serve. You're trying to shorten the gap comparing to versus, in the larger the company, the more you see that there are also those quotes on the walls in large corporations. The customer is the center of our attention, and then right under this quote on the wall there is a customer service rep, and which is being rude and not understanding. And you have this cognitive dissonance. There is this great corporation, there is a quote on the wall, and customer service rep is doing completely the opposite. So they're just thinking, all right, it's 2 more hours until 5 o'clock, I'm done.
Right.
No, you have to go that extra mile, extra marathon, extra 100 kilometers in order to, so that maybe in the short term you will lose. Yes, maybe the client will pay less. But if they become raving fans and if they have this bond, they will come again.
Right.
And they will bring fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, family, friends, acquaintances,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That's a.
So back to the original question,
Yep.
I think that because most of the services are almost the same, because we're using almost the same equipment, but that customer service part is lacking, and I think that can be a competitive advantage.
Right. Okay, very cool, Alan. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to explain that. So it really seems that that customer service area is a problem. You seem really passionate about customer service too. Is that something you like?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
I really like it, really serving people. Like in a way, it's some kind of a retail stuff.
And I could see
Because you can, yeah,
I could see sales being a really good part of your background as well if you're passionate about the product.
yes.
Cool, cool. Okay.
Because when you are really passionate about the product, it stops being sales. You're basically trying to convince people of, all right, here's the goodness. Here's
Right.
the very good thing. Why don't you try it?
Totally.
It's very authentic instead of just Alec Baldwin saying always be closing.
Right.
Put that coffee down, right?
So yeah, that's a really great problem to start off with here. Do we want what's up? I'll just grab your opinion here. Do we want to take that and move that through the business idea equation, or do you have other problems that we could discuss here as well?
Oh, well, I think that's one of the largest problems, I would say, that I see, and that since it's largest problem, I think that has largest upside.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because the people I was trying to talk to, they don't even grasp it. But just I see that, and I did like a small split test of approaching the people, just the lines, how you do that, how you smile. Do you also, this is like another branch, but a part of the customer service can be just adding 2 sentences,
Right.
which which will not cost you anything, like to you or any particular person who is giving the service, but it can be can lead to either referrals or it can lead to upsell.
Right.
Just like McDonald's is just 1 sentence. Would you like fries with that? Is $1 million sentence. In the same way, when you're doing any service, just 1 sentence. Would you like to do X, Y, and Z? Can lead to any business, additional business
Right.
at any cost. Just at the cost of asking 1 question or 2 questions.
Right.
At the same time, if we just piggyback it back to the service, who is going to be in the better position to ask that question and receive the positive result? The person who is just doing the service and thinking, all right, I have 2 more jobs to do today, or somebody who maybe at the expense of another 2 or 3 additional jobs creates that bond, that understanding, that exceptional customer service with the client. And then they are in a very good position. They created a trusted buying relationship, and then they are asking more, or maybe for selling the product, or maybe some affiliate, or whatever it is, but additional business, and they were in a way better position to ask and receive the positive response.
Right. Okay. This is really good. It seems like you have a really strong knowledge and background in this kind of thing.
Well, I just read 3 customer service experience books, and I think that's more than enough.
And you've
But
been
if we're talking like, yeah, go ahead.
oh, and you really like reading that kind of material, right?
Well, I like to read anything business
Okay.
related. Like to give you an example, right now I'm reading the marketing automation book. The next book is gonna be is taken from the library, mergers and acquisitions,
Sweet.
so that I want to understand the business from the financial point of view. Return on investment, return on capital, etc., etc.
Yep. That's all good stuff to know. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's move on with the business idea equation here. So we have a solid problem that you've identified from your own experiences, which is really good. I find some of the best problems that people identify out there is when they run it to it themselves, and it's something that they keep hitting and they keep hitting, and they're not seeing a solution out there. So that's really good. I think we're on a great track here. So the next piece of the business idea equation is the value you can bring. So we've sort of identified your strengths. You're analytical. You know how to. You like to get outdoors. You like to stay active. You like to engage with others. You like to engage with the customer. You ultimately, in a business sense, like to make sure that customer experience is really good. It sounds like, and you're good at analyzing. I think where you can do those like A/B tests you were doing, where you can potentially improve that customer support cycle. So I think that that's a lot of value you can bring to the market related to that problem. So did you have any questions about that?
No, how do I capture that value and sell it and scale it? That's the question.
Yeah, so that's where we piece it all together. The next piece is the business model. So the business model is where we package this all up into a solution that is really solving this problem. And the different business model we choose will dictate, how that problem is solved, how the value you bring to the market is used, and ultimately how scalable your business is, how much revenue you can make, how much risk you're going to take on, etc. So, for instance, if you were to start a one-on-one consulting business, we would easily be able to calculate how much money you could make in a year. That's because we can take the maximum amount of hours you can work in a year, times that by your hourly rate, and that would cap out your business. Unless you start looking at business models where you're building materials where you can train other consultants to do this kind of thing you're looking to do. Another business model would be a software as a service model. So that could be working with businesses to identify, 5 areas that they need to analyze. And then we could build that into a software that you could sell to other businesses to analyze those 5 areas. And that idea is much more scalable as it's a product, right? Do you understand what I'm getting at here?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Cool. So
Like this is like where starting to get close to the challenge I'm facing. That choosing it, B, validating it, and how to actually start finding paying clients.
mhm. So I think
All the theory that I mentioned. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, that's the one thing about the business idea equation and the business model. This might be something you might have to take away and keep revisiting yourself because there's so many business models out there. You can constantly change that with the problem and the value you can bring, and you can come up with so many different solutions. So that's one of the great things about using the equation is that it's really customizable to keep pumping out different kinds of solutions that complement your strengths and still work on the problem you want to solve. And so, is there a business model that comes to mind that you would favor to start this with? And one thing you can keep in mind too before you answer that is your business model can always change. With Business Idea Insight, I've changed business models about 3 times now, and that's just due to how the business has grown and how I want to run the business myself. So is there a type of business model that you prefer?
No, I would rather be uh, be focusing on something like a revenue metric, and obviously the opportunities for growth. And as far as the business model is concerned, I don't have any particular preferences.
Okay, so I see.
Preferably it will be working online, but it shouldn't. I don't think it should be limited
Okay, so you don't want to limit
by
yourself,
that.
but you would prefer like an online-based business.
Yes, so that I'm not not trying to be a cliche for a work week
Nope.
and stuff, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's not cliche at all. I mean, going online is sort of the way of the future, being able to work anywhere you want. That's a total personal preference too. I've talked to many other aspiring entrepreneurs, and they've wanted to build a big team and start a company and have an office and everything like that. So way different than, you know, actually like having an online-based business where you're not sitting down with the client face to face every day.
Hmm.
And so would you, yeah, just a question here is, would you prefer like having that face to face with your clients, or would you prefer them like having a product like they buy online, like a software as a service, or an analytical tool that would help them analyze their customer support or something like that?
Well, to be honest, I thought about that a lot, and I don't have the answer for that.
Okay.
And both positions have a lot in terms of upside and downside. Like the biggest positions is, as I see it, like a bird's eye view, that working online scales way better. But on the advantage side of the working client to client, face to face, is that magical bond part. And yes, you can do the consulting or whatever it is online. I think that uh, how do I say it? On the when the scale comes in, you have to limit that interaction. I think
Yeah.
so, and that your vision is through the iterations of scale. At least what I see through the iterations of scale, that and that your personal vision is getting a little bit away from the customer. But when you or client, when you are interacting face to face, you are there are very very little misinterpretations that you bring to the table when you interact.
Right.
Like to give you the if we're talking about examples, say for example McDonald's. Yes, it's a best system. That basically they're not in the business of selling burgers. They're basically in the business of selling real estate
Right.
and training. They provide best training that people who are has the least attention span, like the teenagers. They put them through the I don't know how many 5 weeks rigorous training. Then they are ready to make burgers as the standard, and it doesn't matter where it is. Is it in Atlanta? Is it, I don't know, in Harlem, or wherever it is?
Right.
On the other side of the spectrum, talking about the personalization, there is store, wine store in London, Haddon's Wines, if you know.
Haven't heard
That
of them.
that gentleman who, yeah, the gentleman who found that store, he was in the business first before that of McDonald's type business. He was selling cell phones in Russia, and he has at one point approximately 15,000 stores all across country.
Whoa.
And right now he's doing completely the opposite stuff. And he that was his intentional thing. That is going to be only one store. It's going to be as personalized as it is, as maximum as possible. No franchises, no impulse buying, no discounts, no nothing. And he's serving like millionaires and billionaires.
Right. Okay.
And the average check in his store is like 10,000 pounds,
Wow.
which is way more than dollars.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's insane. Yeah. So I definitely see what you mean there. That disconnect can happen once you start looking to scale. Um, so now that you've explained that, I do see how maybe there could be two business models that you run with. And the first one would be one-on-one based consulting with like construction companies, window washing companies, those companies in your area that you've identified that need that stronger customer support. And I think that business model would really would work for you right now because you're working a lot. So the one-on-one consulting, you're able to schedule that into your free time. And you're also able to schedule that sort of working with business owners outside of their regular hours. So for instance, if they work that 9 to 5, you can possibly meet up with them after, and I think that would still work. Whereas if you look at starting with, making a software as a service, once that minimum viable product is launched and people are having issues with it during their workday, you're not going to be able to be there to answer those emails, those phone calls, or those questions about if anything's wrong. And I think that could be a huge hindrance to moving forward with that business model, as if customers who are early adopters, they expect to be, treated quite well, especially with a software, since you don't have that one-on-one personal connection you just talked about. And so if they do have trouble and you're not able to get to that right away because you're working, you may have dissatisfied customers, and it may be harder to, sort of grow that. So I see starting with a sort of a one-on-one consulting based model. That way you can get a good process down. And then after you've worked with, say 20 to 50 clients, you have a lot of data points, to what their exact problem is. And you could possibly see if you could identify patterns in each type of business. If there's a window washing business and there's a certain pattern with their customer support that has problems that you've identified, you can look at creating a software or an analytical tool that would help them manage that. And so you can move from, a one-on-one consulting business idea that's not too scalable to something that is, with the data you've collected, original data. And that would also help you prevent, having to do so much research in the beginning if you were going to start the software business, because you would need to collect all that data in the beginning. But if you start with the consulting model, you can start making money while you collect that data and get your name out there, build that experience, and really build that one-on-one connection with those industry people. That is probably very important. Another thing I wanted to add here is, so you can start with, I strongly suggest starting with that consulting one-on-one business model in the beginning. And if you found that there was no logical pattern in any of the data points you were gathering, and if it looked like a software as a service wasn't the right way to go, you could look into see how you could build your consulting process into something you could scale. So all this knowledge you have, all this knowledge you've gained from your clients you've worked with about their customer support systems, how could you boil that down into a system that you could easily hire someone else and teach them that system, so they can go out, they can get the quotes and do the work, and ultimately do that customer support consulting, with you being more in the background, so you can do more of the hiring, do more of the teaching, working with your own employees, and that could be a way to scale as well. And while also keeping that one-on-one relationship, because your consultants would still be able to, talk with the clients one-on-one, manage those accounts, etc. So that could be another option if down the road you notice that the software company wasn't looking like a viable option. So something to keep in mind. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think those are great ideas, and I think only they need to be validated by the market, obviously, and by the clients.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, if you didn't really have any, do you have any questions about that? Because then we can, if you don't, we can jump into sort of the quick validation area.
Well, I think everything is clear. You explained it in a very simple language, so.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, I try to make it
Don't
clear.
don't think I have any questions right now.
Cool. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, now that we've gone over we've created this business idea here, and well, you've created it. There was a problem you found, it's the value you can bring, and it's the business model you identified that you would really fit how you want to run your company. So to sort of validate this, I like to use a tool called the Business Model Canvas. And I'll send you over a link to one of the posts I've written recently. It goes into depth into this. But basically, it breaks down your business idea into about 8 sections that you can quickly analyze in under about 20 minutes. So it goes into the problem, which we've already talked about, the solution, which we've already touched on. Next thing it goes into is key metrics. So these are some of the key things in the business that you'd have to monitor in order to monitor your success. So for instance, if it was the consulting business model we were going with, a key metric could be, how many clients have you booked how many clients you've booked in relation to how many emails or phone calls you've sent out to people in your industry, and like, or how much revenue each client brings in for you. The next part of the business model canvas is the unique value proposition. So this is where you stand out from your competitors. So I'm sure there's other customer support consulting companies, but I think the unique value proposition here for you is, you touched on earlier, is that it's not in the construction industry, and that's also where you have experience. The unique value proposition is how you can offer customer service consulting experience based on, you know, those problems you've identified actually working in the industry that your competitors aren't going to be able to pick up on. The next piece is the unfair advantage. So how will you stay ahead of your competitors? This is not how you're different, which you just touched on, but how will you stay ahead? So this could be your constant reading of customer support and business knowledge. So you're always leveling up your knowledge to help with that consulting. It could be that you're going to be the first one in the area to even offer consulting for construction companies for customer service. This may not be even an area that has really been dived into. Like the niche has never really been tapped into, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah, of course.
And then the next one to analyze is the channels. So I want to give two examples here. So for channels for the consulting area, that would more be, you know, face-to-face, email, phone. How are you going to reach these people? That's what the channels talk about. So it might be less about, if you started a software company, you might be doing more content marketing, social media marketing. You might be doing more demo calls with companies. Whereas the channels for the one-on-one consulting may be more face-to-face, like networking events or introductions from other people in the industry. Then the next is customer segments. So it's sort of like who your customer is. And we've really identified that in the previous section here. It looks like it's people in construction, and whether that might be the niche in the window washing area and gutter cleaning, or if it's roofing and or shingles and those kind of areas. And then the last two I want to touch on here are the most important, and I think where you should spend most of your time if you're looking to do a quick validation, and that's the cost structure and the revenue streams. So when you look at your business idea and you've combined it with the problem you're looking to solve and the value you can bring in the business model, you want to look at the major costs involved. So is there going to be big overhead? Will you have to rent a large office space? Are you going to have to hire key employees? Are you going to have to follow regulations that involve you having a certain amount of money in a bank account? Are you going to have to get certified under anything? Are you going to have to take certain education classes to make sure you're regulated in the area? Sort of like, what are going to be the major costs? So for this business idea, I don't really see there being too many major costs, which is a good thing, because if you were going to start from the consulting side of it, you can end up spending a lot of your own time building out the processes, building out, you know, your funnels for people, building out your reports and everything. You can do that all yourself. You don't really have to outsource that unless you want to. But if you're looking to outsource that, I'd note that as a cost, as a thing that's going to be a major cost in your business. So that's taking a quick look here. That's a really good first step. We went over the cost structure, and it doesn't look like you have significant costs. You know, for instance, if you were looking to start a bank, this is just a really general example, but if you're looking to start a bank, you need a lot of money, and there's a lot of costs involved to that, right? No, but this is...
Where do we start?
Pardon?
Where do we start with that?
Yeah, right. Okay. And then the next is, or the last one here, is the revenue streams. So how will you be making money? So with the consulting business model, it's pretty straightforward. It could be a one-on-one consulting fee. It could be a one-time consulting sit-down, or it could be an ongoing retainer relationship. Other revenue streams, you know, for instance, if it's the SaaS model, it's going to be a pay per month or a pay per year subscription model. So yeah, you'll want to make note of those things, and just if you look at the cost structure and revenue stream, that's a really good way to sort of break down and validate the idea. If your costs are way higher than your any of the revenue streams you think you can make, then it's pretty quick to like throw that business idea out the window and go back to the drawing board before you even bring it to market and try and talk to people about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So did you have any questions about the business model canvas at all? I went through it pretty quick, so.
No, it's pretty straightforward. I will have to obviously to follow up with that post and write all the details for myself, like to take time and do some thinking. But it's pretty straightforward. I just also put some notes in the related note.
Cool, yeah. And you don't have to, but I do suggest you do try it with a couple different business models. You'll see how it can make a huge difference, especially to your revenue and cost structures. You can really notice how changing the business model can either destroy the business idea and make it look like it's something that's not even worth pursuing, or it can change it into something where there's not much cost and there's potentially a lot of upside.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like we have a good start here. You identified the problem with the customer service. We're able to talk about the value you can bring to the market using all those assessments, and combine that with a business model. So I think we have a business idea here that you can sort of move forward with the business model canvas, and potentially even validating in the marketplace. What do you think? Did you have any questions around this here? We have about 5-10 minutes left.
How do I validate after this exercise with business model canvas? How do I validate it, and how do I say, for example, it's successful? How do I find the paying customers?
Yeah, so you'll want to first you want to make a list of all the companies in your area that you think experience the problem that you have identified, as well as make sure there's these companies that you think would benefit from your consulting services. And then I suggest you make a list about 100. I know that sounds like a lot, but the data you're going to gather is going to be incredible. And if you do anything less, I don't think you'll feel as confident as you would if you interviewed so many people. Even today with Business Idea Insight, I'm still interviewing people like you even. I asked about the problems you face because it's an ongoing process to keep that market research coming in. But you'll want to reach out to 100 companies or so, either by email or phone, and see if you can talk to the business owner and see if the problem you've identified is something they'd be willing to pay for. So you'll want to sort of touch on questions, is it a problem they're experiencing? Is it a problem they'd be willing to fix if they knew revenue was going to increase? What's their willingness to pay? Would they be willing to book a consulting set, like a free consulting session for your first one with you within the next 3 months? Because once you know sort of their price point and if their agenda is urgent enough for them to call on you for that customer service appointment, then that's a good sign, because there are some services out there that people try to validate, and business owners just don't ever want to book with them because they don't have time, because they don't see it as a high enough priority. But it sounds like you've identified a problem that is a high priority for business owners, as long as you make that urgency apparent. So it starts with that market research and seeing the willingness to pay, if the problem you identified is the one they want solved. And then you want to ask them how they'd want that problem solved. So is it just a one-time consulting? Is it, they want an analytical tool so they can measure certain things in their business? What do they see as the solution? And then you can sort of go back to the drawing board. Once you have all that market research, you can see if, the combination of the problem, value you can bring, and the business model really is the combination you should move forward with. For instance, you may find that companies, maybe, like, this is just hypothetical, but maybe they don't have a problem with the front end customer service, getting that first relationship, but maybe they have a problem maintaining that relationship and keeping customers happy long term. And so that could dictate sort of the type of consulting you're doing, whether it's like, the back end lead generation, customer service, or, the back end customer service with relationship management and customer success management, etc. Is that is that clear?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Loud and clear.
Cool. Yeah. And did you have any questions about that either?
No, I think you've outlined some execution steps I need to start doing them right now.
Awesome, Alan.
So that's it for my one-on-one consulting session with Alan. Some of the top key takeaways I want you to take away from this video is that you should really spend time and find that problem that is affecting your life. For instance, Alan saw that problem in the construction area and he identified that himself. Next, you'll want to make sure you go through the personal assessments, resource assessments, and any strengths assessments to really understand who you are as an entrepreneur and ultimately see how you can apply that to the problem you found to create your business idea and solution. So there you have it, guys. If you're interested on doing some one-on-one consulting with me, I've included a link in the description below that can provide more details. I know it will really help you solidify a business idea for your local market. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to get to them. So see you guys next time.